Hi, welcome to episode 8. Especially at the youth level, it's very common to find unbalanced squads in terms of skill and talent. While at a higher level, the coaches can scout, pick, and release players as they wish, the truth is that most coaches work in contexts where they have to work with what they have. Especially with the emergence of soccer schools and development centers, kids nowadays are paying to play and to train, and that leads to many coaches going through contexts where they have one or two players that are very above average or below average. That leads to a skill gap that has a lot of coaches scratching their heads when they need to plan for a training session. To create more engaging training sessions, stay with us as we share with you ideas on how to overcome this large skill gap by planning sessions adequate to the different kinds of skill levels that you have on your team. With all the effort and aspirations that coaches put into their projects, it's natural that this skill gap can create a lot of frustration in many coaches because they feel that they cannot deliver the session properly. As much as I agree that it's not an easy task, I think that coaches should take this opportunity to find creative ways of developing the least and the most talented players at the same time, instead of blaming external conditions that they cannot control. One of the aspects that most affects training intensity in this kind of contexts is finding a balance that suits all the players. Usually the training drill will be too easy for the best players or too hard for the other players. Neglecting this balance will have a negative influence in the best player's motivation and on the remaining players' confidence. In football, as in life, facing problems and challenges is the most effective way for the players to develop competencies that will allow them to become a better version of themselves. For that reason, it's very important that coaches consider the success-failure ratio that they want their players to go through in the training sessions. Finding a balance in which the players start by failing, only to step up their game to achieve success, can be key in the development of players regardless of the level that they're at the moment. Let me show you on the pitch how this works. In this case, we're looking at an exercise with goalkeeper plus 4 against 2 players. In this scenario, if you have 2 players way above the average of the team, you can have them play against the 5 players. Like this, you're promoting their grit, individual technique, and 1-2 combinations while giving them an actual challenge. For the other players of a lower level, you will be teaching them the game principles and they will have space and time to perform their actions, improving their technique. Any other numerical relation can work as long as you have the best players in numerical disadvantage. Another problem that surfaces from having unbalanced squads is the lack of rhythm and flow of the training sessions. We already talked about this in episode 3, but we're going to revisit this topic. By now, we know that players have the ability to influence greatly the intensity of a training session. However, the coach can still have an impact on that by planning adequately. As we said, players evolve from participating in contexts that are hard, but not so hard that it takes away the pleasure from the task at hand. For that reason, it doesn't make sense that little John is playing against Ronaldo, so whenever possible, if coaches have enough numbers to create 2 or 3 simultaneous stations, they can then split the group according to their level of skill. By doing that, they are creating micro-environments that are more adequate to the level of the players, and therefore they are increasing the success-failure ratio that will lead to a more efficient development of the players. If that's not enough, coaches can still tweak the different stations to develop a more adequate learning experience for the different groups. Let's go to the pitch to show you what I mean. After you set up an exercise like this, a normal game, choosing to play 4v4 or 3v3 with 2 bouncers represents a completely different level of difficulty. If you split the groups, the stronger group may cope with the 4v4 and the reduced space and time to act. However, when it's time for the least talented group, opting for the bouncers allows them to increase their success-failure ratio, while playing and learning the game at the level that is adequate for them. Plus, you can do this without changing the dimensions or repositioning any material. Moving on, one common practice is to assign the bouncer role when the coaches are facing odd numbers. And usually that role is assigned to the player that is less skilled in the team. I've done it And there's a logic behind that. By doing that, we expect that that player will touch the ball more often. However, in retrospective, is that really the best way to develop all the players in the team? If coaches assign that role to the least developed player, then most likely the numerical advantage will not be felt, having no impact whatsoever in creating an environment for the other players that stimulates longer continuous play. It's as if you're still playing with equal numbers, with all the challenges that come with it. Alternatively, if the stronger players are assigned this role, then they can help both teams by creating chances for either side. With this strategy, the least talented players will enjoy more time and more space to perform their actions, and that will lead eventually to more passing, more shots, more goals. This creates a more integrated and fruitful experience for everyone. In addition, much of the planning is unnecessarily overcomplicated. Tactical nuances, diverse constraints, inadequate pitch sizes all get in the way of an integrating learning experience. As much as coaches aspire to train at elite level, it's important that they are able to adjust to their context, because that will be key for them to extract the most performance from the team that they have at the moment. What good is it to create a training session to stimulate runs in behind the defense after X passes, if after 20 minutes the coaches analyze the situation and realize that that behavior only happened once or twice? It looks good, but doesn't work. For that reason, we advocate keeping it simple and manipulating the numerical relations in the exercises to teach the players the general and the specific game principles, according to the level that they're at. Finally, a side note. It's unrealistic to think that the least talented player will become a superstar. Structuring the training session according to some of the ideas in this episode will help create a better learning environment, but does not guarantee out of the charts development of players. One way coaches can really create an impact on their teams is by stimulating the development of their average and good players. Having a leap in quality in these players is really where you can extract more value from for your team. Having a strong second, third, and fourth best player will increase the average quality of your team and will help support your best player. At the same time, it also helps balance the shortcomings of your least talented players, and that's really where you want to aim to. Moving on to this episode's Q&A, I got a question asking if it's better to retain a very good player or to allow him to go to a better team. Well, because players thrive in competitive environments, in cases where that environment cannot be sufficiently replicated, I think that the best thing to do is to be selfless and let him go. It doesn't really make a difference if your team finishes 8th or 10th or 12th. And what you are doing by letting him go is creating a potential impact that can change his career in youth football and, who knows, pro football. By allowing him to train every day with better players and to play in a better division will be more valuable for him than any piece of input that you can give to him throughout the season in a weaker team, regardless of your quality as a coach. The second question has to do with whether a least talented player should play in his preferred position or be adapted to a position that protects the general interest of the team. In my opinion, if the skill is significantly below average, then it's better to adapt the player. For example, if he's a central defender, then his shortcomings will come at a higher cost to the team. So for that reason, to avoid pointed fingers and social segregation within the team, I advocate that you should adapt him to a position further up in the pitch. By playing him in a 3-player midfield or playing him in a 2-forward attacking formation, you can use the stronger players to back him up. That way, he can get the enjoyment of playing the game while at the same time increasing the positivity and the efficiency of his actions. It's in that attempt to find the balance between the enjoyment of the player and the performance of the overall team that I base my answer that you should adapt the player to other positions, regardless of his individual preferences. Now, because we grew to love football because of that special dribble or that incredible goal, In the next episode, we will be talking about how to stimulate the player's creativity in the training session. As defenses are more and more organized, the ability to take on a defender or break a pressing line is invaluable nowadays. Until then, if you wish to continue your development as a coach, you can find daily content across any of the social media channels linked in the description. If you're into discussing training topics, then you can enter our WhatsApp group, also in the description, or you can follow us on Reddit under the name Freecoachtalks. Once again, thank you for watching.